All right. Well, many of us know a lot goes on in the emergency department with the primary objective of emergency physicians and trauma surgeons to quickly and effectively stabilize the patient and operate on them effectively. Easier said than done, because more than often they're operating and working on the patient in conditions, in trauma conditions, where they may not have the right tools. I'm Marco Daura with Novuson Surgical, and we're here to talk about a solution that has the ability to dramatically improve the way emergency physicians and trauma surgeons take care of their patients. Why? Because they get to see, in the US alone, 40 million trauma cases, of which 25% require surgery, and unfortunately 200,000 result in death. Death due to lack of surgical access or surgical tools. Death is a worst case scenario, but we know that 1.6 million of these trauma cases do experience complications due to technical errors that we know are avoidable. Technical errors such as charring of the skin, inability to control the bleeding, and excessive tissue damage due to lateral thermal spread. These are technical errors that today still exist with today's solutions, yet using technology that's really outdated, 25 years old. Technology like RF, bipolar electrocautery, or vibrating scalpels, like the Harmonic Ace by J&J Ethicon, or the ligature by Medtronic Covidien. Why have we not innovated since? Clearly, there's a need for new, innovative solutions in the space. So what if we put in the hands of emergency physicians and trauma surgeons better tools that really help them operate even when there's excessive bleeding at the site they're working on, that help them reduce complications from tissue charring and sticking, that help them reduce surrounding tissue damage due to excessive thermal lateral spread, help them perform procedures near implantables and not worry about electric discharge, and last but not least, eliminate the smoke plumes. Clinicians don't want to breathe that stuff, and patients don't need additional carcinogens in their body. So really empower trauma surgeons, empower emergency physicians to drive higher quality and reduce costs by $20 billion a year in the US alone. They say an image says 1,000 words, so let's see how this video does. And we're not hearing the audio.
A new paradigm in surgical technology to improve patient outcomes through superior precision, speed, safety, and versatility. The UltraStat DTU energy is confined to the width of the jaws and concentrated at the midplane. This results in the application of energy from the inside out, delivering a controlled, uniform therapy zone. The 3mm UltraStat Mini LS is ideal for tissue and vessel sealing and dividing on thicknesses up to 7 millimeters. Once the DTU is activated, total zone coagulation is achieved in under 5 seconds with no smoke plume. The direct therapeutic ultrasound cutting mode safely divides the target tissue with no tissue sticking and no tissue charring before the next therapeutic bite. The Novuson UltraStat Direct Therapeutic Ultrasound System, improving patient outcomes through superior precision, speed, safety, hemostasis, and versatility.
All right, our model is going to be very simple. The razor blade model, where you have the control unit at the surgical site at the department, and the applicator unit or the handset being a disposable used on a per patient per procedure. Our go-to-market focus is to go after ambulatory surgical centers for minimally invasive procedures and trauma surgery where it's needed, and eventually expand into general surgery, endoscopic, and robotics, extending our total market availability to 3.7 billion. So that would be our total addressable market. Our team is really made up of excellent leadership members, starting with our medical board advisory, nationally renowned MDs and surgeons from trauma to general surgery, also expert leadership in our board of advisors and development teams with many, many years of experience successfully taking medical device from ideation through commercialization through launch. So really, in wrapping up here, I'll ask the question again, why not empower trauma surgeons and emergency physicians, drive higher quality, do what they have to do, save patients, and reduce costs by $20 billion a year, because 1.6 million of these trauma cases do experience complications that we know are avoidable. Thank you so much for your time. I encourage you to come stop by our booth. We'll show you the solution, and we do welcome all the tough questions.
All right, Marco, thank you very much. Some questions from the judges.
And I'm going to have my colleagues too also help answer some of these questions.
So can you talk about your regulatory pathway in more detail? What are you, is it a 510K? Is it a...
Good. Yeah, so our immediate focus right now is to finalize all our reports, validation reports that we need, verification, validation, all the reports to submit by end of December, early January. So really coming up. That's when we plan on doing the submission.
This December, this coming January?
Yes, for FDA, and we'll follow with CE as well.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about what evidence you have that your technology is superior to other technologies that are out there? Do you have any head-to-head studies, either in animal or human models?
Yes, so we've done a lot of studies, animal studies in labs. We've done side-by-side comparisons with some of the big solutions that I named earlier, because there's a lot of interest. So we've done animal studies. We plan also to do a formal summative animal study as we get into the FDA submission. Not that it's required, but we're going to do it anyway to prove efficacy and robustness of the solution, because we know that during a procedure, the operation of the jaw has to go about 100 times in a procedure. So we're going to prove the efficacy and the robustness of the solutions furthermore in additional studies. But they're not really required by the FDA because we do have a predicate and we have a fast-tracked path with the FDA.
Is your plan to centralize your company on this solution? Do you have other things, or are you going to sell to another company that already has a market for similar tools?
Anything is possible. So we really want to finish this, launch it into the marketplace. We have a roadmap of additional jaws for different applications.
Okay.
We want to go to a Series B, a next round, fundraising, but at the same time, we know we're working very closely with other leaders in the space. So we would consider things as they come, but our plan is not to do a quick exit before the product really has the chance to mature and progress through the roadmap that we have.
Okay.
Can you just go through how, like the price point difference between the ones and the ones that are already in the market?
Yes. So this is a disposable, and that's how all the other handset units are. The range is anywhere from $500 to $800 for a disposable unit like this, and we're going to be at the lower part of that, close to $500, $600. Now, our cost of goods right now are high because we're going to be in a low volume-controlled initial launch, but once we scale up, our cost of goods will go down, and will still remain around that $500 range for a disposable, which is what's current in the market today. So what we're adding is really the benefit of eliminating the side effects, no smoke plumes, ability for trauma procedure with this technology where the current RF and vibrating scalpels don't work where you have a bleeding site.
And the statistic that you talked about, the saving $20 billion based on complications, was that specifically from bleeding?
From all the different technical errors that I showed earlier. Okay. Tissue charring, having to reproceduralize, excessive tissue damage to lateral thermal spreads, inability to control the bleeding. So all these led to these costs.
But all related to what this will solve for. Okay.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank you,
please
Marco.
stop by our booth.